Wow. So here we are at episode 7.2, continuing our venture into the Trappist beers. There are 7 or 8 of these. I don't have all of them, but we're tackling the few that I have because it is so hard to drink such fantastic beers. Because I mean, really,
not worthy.
I know. Really, when you get down to it, the Trappist beers, except for 1 or 2 of them, are just you can't go wrong with them. So now we're going to try the Trappist Achel, the Brune or Brown Ale, which is this one here, and we will be pairing that up against the Trappist Westvleteren 12. Which is one of the top rated beers in the world, and people really geek out over the Westvleteren 12. And don't get me wrong, it is a great beer, but again, like in episode 7.1, if you have access to Chimay Grand Reserve Blue or even the Rochefort 8, I mean, Rochefort 8 up against Westvleteren 12. I mean, that's a pretty close tie.
Yeah.
So you're looking at about $30+ a bottle for the Westvleteren 12 versus about $6 or $7 for the Rochefort 8.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Rochefort 8.
Yeah, and that brings into you categorize beer and you rank beer and you look at the various reasons why. Yes, well, exactly. So you drink a beer because A, you can drink it, B, can I drink it? And so there's going to be some beers that are more attainable than others, and so there's kind of a there's like a hype factor. I mean, and the Westvleteren kind of has that hype factor because it is hard to attain. Let's not mince
and it
words
is
here.
a fantastic beer.
It is great.
Not to be.
And we managed to, I don't know, it was maybe about 1.5 years ago. There was Michael. We're both Michael, by the way.
Michael.
But that Michael managed to find a way to procure several bottles of it, and that was great. But you drink it and you think, okay, just on the merits of the beer, how does the beer taste? How does it stand? And it is a great beer. Don't get me wrong, but there is the hype factor, and it's very difficult to attain.
Well, but that's why we're here today.
So that's what we're doing.
Let's just boom. There we are. There's the 12.
You just opened a beer that cost probably $70
But that's the thing you got to get out of your head. You have to get the price of beer out of your head because it comes down to taste. And I know as hard as it is, it's like, especially here locally in the Houston area, St. Arnold beers, oh, that's hard to get, this is hard to get. Wow, I'm seeing some chunks there. I always pour you short. I never mean to. But
just point of reference, that whole commentary while he was pouring that really expensive beer, I could see him crying the whole time, like tears. So don't forget economics, dude.
Okay, well, I have a very dark and cloudy beer, as do you. So
it's not clear at all.
Okay, so this has a much more yeasty head on it.
Yeah.
Not quite as sweet as what we had with either the Chimay or the Rochefort 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang it. I hate it when an expensive beer is fantastic. So, again, it's
so good.
Oh gosh, balance just comes into play once again.
This
is such a
so good
balanced beer.
You should. This should be rated NC-17.
Oh man, mother grabber, son of a motherless biscuit.
Oh,
it really does remind me of the Rochefort 8, but it doesn't have quite the sweetness that the Rochefort 8 has.
It has a little bit of it's not an edge, but it's crisp.
It's almost like a blend of the Chimay Grand Reserve and the Rochefort 8. It has the crispness that the Chimay had, but it's got that smooth, clean balance that the Rochefort had. I mean,
it's just too bad that
this is ridiculous.
Probably none of you are going to be able to find. None of you are going to be able to find this beer. I mean, am I wrong?
You used to be able to buy beer like this on eBay,
right?
Because it was so rare. But now eBay has changed its rules and got all. You can't do that anymore. You can buy empty bottles of Chimay or Westvleteren, but you can't buy it like this anymore. So this is my last batch. I've got 5 or 6 bottles left. So this is just for YouTube that we're drinking this, and gosh, man, it's just ridiculous. I really had, even though I've had it before and knew it was good, I just didn't remember it being as like nicely balanced as this is. It's just it's almost obnoxious.
It's a welcome surprise.
Like, how does such a small brewery manage to produce such a perfectly balanced beer like this?
Yeah, and you've had some personal experience. I mean, you've traveled to Belgium. I think you've even driven to the.
We went to the brewery.
Okay.
And waited in a car line that's like a little circle drive to get it, and we didn't pre-reserve a pallet, and so we got nothing. We had to drive down the road 30 minutes to to Bruges to get a 6-pack of it and pay 8 times as much. It is so inexpensive from the brewery directly.
Right.
The markup on this beer is astronomical. If you're paying $30 a bottle, I think we figured out that from the brewery, I think they charge about $1.50 or $2 a bottle.
Right.
Think about that.
So, I mean, the bottom line, if you're looking to take a trip to Europe and you like beer, this might, it might be actually more economical just to work in a little trip over to Belgium, visit Westvleteren, and swing by their brewery and get some of their beer.
It's time we need to give Achel
a
little street cred, because we've been gushing about Westvleteren now.
We really have.
And Achel is an even smaller brewery than Westvleteren. For the longest time, like, Achel was the last Trappist beer I actually had an opportunity to taste. So I kind of brushed them aside. I was like, well, I've had Chimay, I've had Westvleteren, I've had Rochefort, so, whatever. And then, there are a couple other beers that are easier to get that are Trappist that, I don't know, it's like, whatever. So I pretty much had them all. Achel totally took me off guard.
And I can say I've never had this.
He's never had it, so this is going to be a
blind Michael taste test.
Well, you know what it is, so you can uncover your eyes.
All right, thanks.
So I'm going to pour myself some first. That's how I always do. I won't. Okay, there we go. I went easy on it.
Hey, look at that.
Okay.
Hey, I'm so excited.
So this is their Brune. They actually have a blonde, a Brune. They have a handful of beers, but this is the one that I've actually had before, and it's just me, or is there more beer in this bottle?
Yeah, because I've had
dude,
it never stops. Okay. Yeah, so hit the side.
Oh, sorry, it's like a ketchup bottle.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, you got a lot of. Yeah, that worked. Yeah, it feels like I did a lot of work on the Westvleteren, and there's still a lot of beer over there. So this is the Achel Brune, which I never had.
So it actually has a very similar aroma to the Westvleteren. We were really trying to, since we have to break this up into a few different episodes, or point episodes, we were trying to pair up fair comparisons between the different
on the smell,
Trappist beers, but The aroma is very close.
I'm gonna have some.
I know, right? It has kind of a dry.
Yes, thank you. It's more of a dry finish.
Yeah, the flavor is actually really similar to Westvleteren, but the finish is much more dry. It has a little bit of sweetness.
I'm just gonna go over here.
The malty, the hop, everything is again very well balanced on this beer.
I'm back.
This is a hard one to judge.
Yeah, it's close actually.
I think again because this is a very well balanced beer.
Yeah, it's very close. The Achel's a little more of a. I mean, and we're getting into almost. We're getting into like almost wine and champagne territory in terms of describing the differences. In the Achel's a little more dry. The Westvleteren might be a little bit more syrupy, but not a ton. It's actually very much in the same ballpark, which I was not expecting.
I know. I mean, it's kind of an unheard of beer. So especially like I liked pairing this up against the Westvleteren because you don't really see this 1-2 punch, but they're so close.
Maybe even though it's a brune or a brown, it kind of tends towards a little bit more of a not fruity, but some of it kind of reminds me of a triple, just a tad. Pop quiz: what beer do you choose?
This is a tough one.
Shot.
Which one do you choose? Do you choose the Achel, which is the more rare and has more about it, or you choose the Westvleteren, which is harder to get and way more expensive? Because honestly, if you like taste them side by side, could you tell the difference between the two? One's slightly more dry, the Achel, but tell me, which one do you choose, hot shot?
I think the Westvleteren.
Punch you right now.
I think you go with the Westvleteren if you can get your hands on it.
Your stopwatch just went off. I think we're about to blow up. Until next time, I'm Michael.
And I'm Michael.
And keep drinking.
And believing.
Welcome to the show. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes good, sometimes bad, some good, some bad.